Senate Democrats, in their last chance to sort of screw Trump with the deep state and handcuff him and tie his hands with legislation before he comes into office, since they lost in a humiliating fashion, they're trying to throw all this crap in there to keep Trump from being able to succeed at the utmost. And then finally Musk said no. And Ramaswamy said no. And ultimately, as you'll see, Trump said no.
Have any other of your colleagues said that they're not voting for Johnson? Any express?
Yeah, I've talked to a few, who don't seem like they're going to vote for him. You have to ask them. I'm not going to betray anybody's position.
Will you just vote president, or will you vote someone else's?
I'll vote for somebody else.
Now, Johnson can only lose one vote and still win the speaker's race on January 3rd. Some Republicans ask how things are different with a spending bill like this under Johnson than former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The funding deadline is Friday night. Neil? We're told.
So that's how things happened Wednesday night. And the entire thing got pulled because Donald Trump put out a statement on Truth Social and on X that said, yeah, pull this thing. It's ridiculous. Give me a clean. And here's the funny thing. Everyone's like, oh, what's Donald Trump going to say? Donald Trump needs to lead. Why is Elon Musk leading? I got a question for you. Who the hell is president right now? This is not Donald Trump's budget. This is not Donald Trump's continuing resolution. If the government shuts down, it's not Trump's fault. He literally has no political power in any way whatsoever vested in a government position. He's a private citizen still. Joe Biden is president. I hate to break it to you. And you never heard Biden's name once in that news report or any of the news reports that come out of this. Thanks to the leadership and direction of, yes, Trump and Elon Musk, even though they don't have any political position right now or authority, Republicans went back to the drawing board. And they went from a 1,500-page bill to a bill that is a little over 100 pages. And it did four things. It extended the funding of the government through March. It provided the hurricane relief. It provided the relief for farmers. And it eliminated the debt ceiling for 2 years. Trump asked for that because Trump wanted the debt ceiling to not be an issue so that he can have some freedom to get stuff done in his first 100 days. And everybody went nuts. Mostly Democrats, but a handful of Republicans, and we'll get to them in a minute. But here's the Democrats. First, this is, of course, Representative Rosa DeLauro, which I believe her district in New York includes Sesame Street. She represents all the Muppets because she himself, it's identity politics. She's a Muppet herself. And she got the talking points that had been issued for Democrats and the media about this thing. And it was blame Musk, blame Musk, blame Musk.
They write the bill. They post the bill. They agreed on a bill.
They signed it.
And you know what? They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know about what people go through is when the government shuts down? Are his employees furloughed? Hell no. Is he furloughed? No. And when you shut the government down, people don't get paid. And maybe if none of us got paid if the government shut down, some people on the other side of the aisle would feel differently about where we're going in this effort.
All right. So, first of all, let's just be clear here. What a moron. I do love who represents Democrats in this country. I hope they're proud. I hope they're proud of their Muppet there. Couple things here. You notice this term furloughed. Elon Musk's employees don't get furloughed. Elon Musk furloughed. What does that even mean? Do you use the term furloughed in your business if you have to go without pay? You don't, do you? No. You call it being laid off or fired, right? Or because no one really works without pay, right? So what's a furlough? Here's what a furloughed federal employee is. That means that you will get paid. You just won't get paid right now. You'll guarantee that you'll get paid a month from now, even if you didn't have to come into work. That's what furloughed is. I do talk radio here in Washington, D.C. I think you know the morning show on my radio station here in Washington. And I've been through a couple of these government shutdowns over the 13 years that I've been here. And a lot of my listeners are federal employees. They don't mind the government shutdown. You know what happens with them? First of all, non-essential workers are the ones who are furloughed. I remember in the last government shutdown, somebody highlighted the fact that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, I believe it was 97% of their employees were furloughed because they're non-essential. Now, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think if you work for the government and your job is non-essential, maybe we should just eliminate that job. If it's been, because again, old-fashioned thought here, but I think that we, the people, through our federal government, should only be employing people who are essential. And if they're not essential, let's let the private sector do that job. Okay? I know it's an old-fashioned notion, but maybe it's one whose time has come. But if you are a non-essential employee, you are sent home. You do not report to work. And when the government turns back on again and is funded again, which it will be, and you come back to work, you get all your back pay, even if you didn't work. That's what furloughed means. So she's absolutely right. Elon Musk's employees do not get furloughed. In fact, nobody in the private sector, in the real world, outside of the federal government, is furloughed. We get fired. We get laid off. We have to go on unemployment or dip into our savings. And we certainly don't get our back pay when the company's back up and running again. I hate to break it to Congresswoman DeLauro, but we've all been through this very recently. We all wanted to work. We were able to work, but our companies were forced to shut down by people like her in the government. It was called the pandemic. It was called the lockdown. She was in full support of it. So please don't come screaming at us and telling us about the plight of these poor people who are suffering because of their furlough. All right? Because we had much worse than that during the pandemic. This kind of thing doesn't work anymore when we have a government shutdown. But you saw the other tactic there. President Musk's in charge. They think that they're in some way tweaking Donald Trump, that they're like triggering him because they think that Trump is a big narcissist and he doesn't like the idea that Musk is in charge. So they all did it. They're so blatant, they're so obvious, they're so transparent, but it doesn't work anymore.
And a tweet changed all of it? Can you imagine what the next 2 years are going to be like if every time the Congress works its will and then there's a tweet or from an individual who has no official portfolio, who threatens members on the Republican side with a primary, and they succumb? This institution has a separate responsibility based upon the separation of powers. Members of Congress don't serve under presidents of the United States.
Yeah. Do you notice what he just said there? Can you imagine what life is going to be like in the next 2 years if every time members of this body, the House of Representatives, do things that the people are angry about, and then they're under threat that they're going to lose re-election? I mean, we can't operate that way. We can't operate knowing that when we go back home, we're going to lose re-election if we do something that our voters don't like. Think about what he's saying, which, by the way, is exactly how our founders envisioned the House of Representatives to function. That's why they only have 2 terms. They want them to be directly accountable to the people in the most immediate way possible. And what he's voicing out, what he's saying out loud here, which has always been the quiet part, is, nah, God, this is awful. The people are actually seeing what we're up to. They're actually being informed through this X platform about all the bullshit we're engaged in. We keep this up, none of us are going to be reelected. Good. That's the whole point. That's what he's concerned about. I love it when they say it out loud. Over on MSNBC, they are torn. They're schizophrenic. In fact, they don't know what to think because up until this point, they were saying that after Elon Musk bought Twitter. He rendered X completely ineffective and meaningless and without any kind of influence. And they were also mocking Elon Musk for this Doge thing because it had no real political power. It was just an advisory committee. So it didn't have any teeth. It didn't have any staff. It wasn't going to be able to do anything. That was yesterday's news. Now they're terrified that X has too much influence and too much power, and that Elon Musk is actually, in fact, more powerful than the president of the United States. I wish they'd get their lies straight, but here they are.
I've never been here before. And Jim Vandehei, you've got new reporting out this morning for Axios about the government funding fight and how it captures the power and flaws of what you call the new information ecosystem, which is, in many ways, Elon Musk and X.
I mean, this is your future foretold. You might like it, you might hate it, but it is. Like, you now have Musk controlling the dominant organ of the Republican media industrial complex. There's nothing close.
You remember this guy? I just want to remind you who this guy is. We highlighted a speech that he gave about 3 weeks ago, I think. It was at something at the National Press Club. Jim Vandehei. He used to work at the Washington Post. Then he started Politico, and now he's in charge of Axios. And he was really indignant that Elon Musk takes to his X platform and reminds all of us that we are now the media, right? And remember him? He's like, "You are not the media. That's bullshit," he said. "No, reporters are vital. Reporters are important. Reporters have," and now here he is saying, "This is insane. X is now controlling the media." It's like, dude, you just said that we aren't the media. And now he's terrified that we are the media, which is, by the way, exactly what I told you was between the lines of this speech a couple of weeks ago. It's glorious to watch. They don't know what to do.
He single-handedly, with his tweets and his followers, killed that bill. There's no doubt about that. I think the aspirational part of what he's saying probably is a good thing, right? Like, we do spend way too much money as a country, and the process by which we do it is often asinine. And I think that was like the fundamental thing that started this. But now you do have somebody who, at least in this interim period, is arguably the most powerful person in politics and is totally unelected. So now Republicans are seeing they got the benefit of Musk in winning the election. Now they're going to have to deal with the consequences of having a media infrastructure that can put pressure on them to force members to instantaneously change their votes. And make no mistake, that's what happened. Go back and look at X, at the number of members of Congress who went on and genuflected before Musk to say, "I changed my votes because of what you said."
All right. Now, we have a couple of things here that need to be pointed out about Mr. Vandehei. A couple of things that are actually quite impressive that he just revealed without actually revealing it. My favorite part of that little monologue of his was when he said, "Listen, Musk has a point. I mean, the way we go about funding the government and the way these votes come down and the omnibus and all the stuff that I laid out for you, it's terrible. It's broken. It needs to be fixed. And we've got real problems with deficit spending, and it's never going to get fixed unless they change their ways." So he has a point there. We've been talking about it for years. Okay. Think about it for a minute. They've been talking about it for years. They've been waxing poetic. They've been writing their articles. They've been doing their cable news hits. They've been complaining about it for years, and yet nothing changes. They've had no influence. They've had no impact. Musk takes the exact same messages, and he utilizes his voice and his influence, his impact, and it worked. It actually changed the course of this legislation. Something Vandehei and Axios and Politico and the Washington Post and MSNBC have not been able to do for decades, of saying the exact same thing, which is what Vandehei just admitted to. So his real complaint about Musk is not that he's wrong on the issue, but he actually has impact and influence. In other words, hey, leave this to the professionals, okay, Elon? Because we complain about this all the time, and we're not able to get anything done. We have no impact and no influence, and that's the way things ought to be, is what Jim Vandehei just admitted to, and it's glorious. His other complaint is that Elon Musk now has all this influence, all this impact, all this power. He's so rich, and yet he doesn't actually hold an official elected office. Jim, you might want to look into a guy named Soros. And I'm not saying that Elon Musk is our Soros, because I don't want to have a Soros. But it's pretty remarkable now to see these guys all find religion and suddenly be really concerned about a really rich guy who can secretly, quietly, behind closed doors, influence America's lawmakers at the highest levels, which is exactly what Soros has been doing for years, and now his son does. Frankly, though, Musk is not doing that because there's nothing quiet, and there's nothing secret, and there's nothing behind closed doors. He's actually being quite transparent and open, out in the open about it. And guess what? If you don't like it, you can say something about it. But if you say something about George Soros, oh, you're an anti-Semite. You're a Nazi. If you complain about George Soros, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say something about George Soros, you're actually removed from polite society. But you can complain about Elon Musk. It's amazing. It's almost like they have a double standard. Hey guys, it's me, Larry from Town Hall. Thank you, first of all, for finding my personal YouTube channel, Larry O'Connor. And I hope you enjoy this video. If you missed it over at Town Hall, take a look at it over here on Larry. And make sure you like and subscribe here, because in the next month or so, there's going to be a huge flow of brand new content, totally separate and independent from my work over on the Town Hall channel. I think you can take a double dose of Larry every day, and you're going to get quite a bit of it right here. So like, subscribe, share our videos whenever you can, and go ahead and look through the archive, because I've been doing stuff here on YouTube for many, many years, including 1 year of my O'Connor Tonight primetime show, as well as a lot of work that I used to do with Breitbart and radio work. So take a look at it, and we'll see you soon with some new videos and new content coming out ASAP.